Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Jackie Burns. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. This episode is a special one because I have a guest host and a guest joining me. Say hello to Addison, who's excited to announce our special guest.
After making her Broadway debut in Hair, and today's guest went on to become the longest-running Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. She is also Idina Menzel's standby in If Then on Broadway, and she took over the lead role in If Then on tour. Please welcome Jackie Burns.
Oh my goodness.
For Halloween, when in Halloween time.
Yeah.
And pink goes good with green. So I thought, let's make this weird. Let's make this fun. Let's throw on a wig.
Why not? Why not? How many wigs do you have now?
2.
Okay. I feel like you have like 10. Do you have like 10 on order or something?
No, I do need to order more though, clearly. Because I just have pink right now. Yeah. Pink is what I'm very much into. Because as a dark-haired girl, you can't really dye your hair unless you strip it to make it lighter. So I always am very jealous of all the girls that can all the blondes that can go dark and then go light and make pink and orange or blue. If I could, I would, but I would have to, my hair would fall out.
Yeah, I have black hair and people are like, do you ever want to dye your hair? I'm like, I don't think it'll work.
I mean, it would, but see, because my hair is naturally crazy curly too, so my hair's already really, really dry. So if I were to bleach it with it being so dry, it would just fall out. You have your hair isn't curly. So you could, I mean, it would damage it obviously, but not to the point where your hair would fall out like mine.
No, I already played the damage my hair game in high school when I straightened it every day.
Exactly.
It was terrible. How are you right now?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Living the quarantine life, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah. It's the quarantine life.
I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't know what day it is anymore.
Me neither. Agreed. I know. I'm like, what is it? Wednesday? Every day is the same. The weekend is the same as during the week because, there's no gauge.
Yeah. I'm like, is it still March? I don't know.
I don't even know. No, it's October.
It's October.
I only know because it was my birthday month. If I didn't know, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. I was like, wait, Halloween is this Saturday. I have to get a costume.
Yeah, that's my wig.
Yesterday, I was like that. Wait, what are you going to be for Halloween first? That was at the end of my question, but I'm going to ask.
Are we starting?
Yeah.
Oh, we started. Yay. I just didn't know if we were just chatting. What do I want to be for Halloween?
Do you have a plan?
You know what's so funny? I never dress up for Halloween because normally I'm doing a show and you play dress up every day. So Halloween always seems it's my least favorite because I dress up every day anyways, right? So I don't ever dress up, but I think this year I'll probably just wear a fun wig. That's all I really care about. I just want to wear wigs and feel ridiculous. So I love it.
Yeah.
I'll just me, but with a wig.
And it's the option that makes sense price wise because I was looking online last night and they're all $49 for a costume.
Oh my God, really? No, yeah. Just get yourself a $19 wig from Amazon and call it a day.
Yeah, it's I can't pay that much for a costume. Yeah. If I were 10 or if I were Addison's age, who's on here, but her camera's off right now. She's gonna come in later. Then I'd be like, okay, I'll go all out because that's fun. But
yeah, totally. I hear you.
Okay, so next question: have you always known that you wanted to be in theater and be a performer?
Yes. And I have to say I do feel very lucky for that. It was funny. My brother is younger than me, and seeing him have to decide what he wants to be for the rest of his life is a very arduous task. And I think that all performers probably feel very lucky because if you're called into the arts, it is a very visceral calling that it's what you were put on this earth to do because if you weren't that committed to it, it's too hard and you wouldn't do it, right? I mean, it's just like there's too much mean rejection and ups and downs and uncertainty to like go down this path unless you live and die for it, right? So yes, since long story is, yes, I always wanted to be a performer. I knew that I wanted to be an actor as soon as I could talk and dance and sing and you know, I took my first dance lesson when I was 3. I was the star of Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. I killed that. Yeah, and I used to sing, and I used to get up on the fireplace at my grandparents. They had like a ledge, and I used to like use it as my stage and like sing and dance to Michael Jackson's Thriller. That was like my jam. And yeah, I feel very lucky that it's like it chooses you, and I feel very lucky. But then it's been really hard in this pandemic where people are like, oh, well, just find something else to do with your life. And it's like, no, and I shouldn't have to. It's like, you know, would you all of a sudden tell a doctor who's put how many years of schooling in and be like, oh, sorry, there are no doctor positions anymore, so go find something else to do with your life? It's like, what? Absolutely not. So that's been very frustrating that the arts don't seem to be getting the credit where credit is due. And I hope that society starts to realize that the arts are just as important as everything else, and it's just as hard, and it takes just as much skill and training, and we get the respect we all deserve, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, totally. Like, people don't understand that like we need the arts in this society to function, honestly.
Yes. Could you imagine if during this pandemic we had no music and no art and no TV and no Netflix? I mean, like, no paintings to look at, nothing. Like, come on. No books, no, it's like the arts is what feeds our soul.
I'd go absolutely crazy. And you all have trained like for this profession. So it's like, it's not like you just like went into this profession without any like training and without going to college for it.
Exactly. And still train. I mean, like, I still take voice lessons every week. I still am in acting class every week. It's like, it's not something that all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I'm good at this, and you just stop. It's like it's a constant process of I mean, even the big stars still train and still, you know what I mean? It's like, it's never ending. So yeah, we deserve a lot more credit.
Yes. Speaking of training, you went to school in Connecticut.
We did.
Well, how was your college experience like, and what was your biggest takeaway from college?
Biggest takeaway from college is wasted on the youth. Because God, if I could go back to college now, I would kill it. But like, you know, you go to college when you're 17 or 18 and you're just like so excited to be out of your parents' house and like living your best life that, I mean, I did well at school, but I didn't pay attention in the way that I really should have. I was too busy like wanting to go out and like go to the bar with my friends and, you know, go shopping and go to a party and go out with buoys and like, you know, have fun. So my biggest takeaway from college was, Jackie, you should have paid attention a little bit more. So, because it's very expensive for your parents or for you. So like, pay attention, everybody who's watching, because you're going to look back and be like, oops.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, so that was my biggest takeaway, is I should have paid attention more.
I totally feel that. I'm so ADHD that like, I feel like during college for me, like paying attention was out the window.
Yeah, well, but we're just so young. It's just such a young, it's again, going back to like, you were like, do you always knew you were going to be a performer? It's like, it's a lot of pressure to put on our young kids of like, you're 17, 18-year-olds. It's like, figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And it's like, oh my God, that's a lot of pressure. And that's like it's a lot, you know?
And people get worried they can't change majors during college too.
Well, then if you do, and it's like my brother changed majors, and then it's like a whole nother year of school, which is a whole another lot of money.
Yep.
Or the guilt. Yeah. And then you got guilt, like, oh my God, now I have a whole other year. My poor parents have to pay, or I have to pay. And it's like, it's just it's a lot of pressure. I personally think.
Yes, it is. And then speaking of a lot of pressure, I feel like you made your Broadway debut in Hair, which that's huge to make a Broadway debut at any time, honestly, for people. It's what 1,000 performers dream of each day.
Totally.
So Do you remember the day you made your Broadway debut and what it was like?
I do. I remember it was very cool. Hair was very cool because it was a lot of ours Broadway debut. Like most of the company, it was most of the companies. I'd say at least half of the company was their Broadway debut. So the energy of opening this new show, brand new, like, you know, it was a revival, but like, you know, the opening this new revival with half of the company being their Broadway debut, the energy was so palpable, and there was just like the gifts. Oh my God, it was so crazy. Everybody's dressing room was like a flower. Like it was like we were in a florist. I've never seen more flowers in my life. It was so cool. And also just like, so my parents, we all got, you know, allowed to bring people. So my parents came, and my best friend and her sister and her dad came, like, who are like my other family. And more than anything, getting to see like the excitement of my parents, like their little girl, you know, accomplishing her dream and making her debut on Broadway in this brand new show. So it's like not a show that's already been running. It's like this huge, and it was like the talk of the town because we had like a huge run at the Public Theater, you know, and so everybody was like falling in love with it. So there was a lot of buzz already behind the show, and the show itself has so much buzz because it's such a flipping amazing show. So I think that was the most like thing that I remember the most, is like seeing the pride of my mom and dad, just so excited to,
Like,
yeah, it was just like, it was really beautiful. And my dad was hilarious at the opening night party. Like he danced like nobody's business. He was like, oh, he owned that dance floor like nobody's business. He was the star. He was the real star.
if you had dad content back then, like,
oh my God. I mean, my dad is basically an internet sensation, let's be honest.
basically
For
like,
sleeping. First, if anybody who doesn't know me or doesn't follow me, I basically, my whole dad contact is my dad sleeping like this.
it's the best.
It doesn't matter what time of day it is, he's out.
It's a mood.
People are like, is he narcoleptic? Is there something wrong with him?
You're like,
no. He's just a very relaxed human being. I wish I could be that relaxed. I wish I could be that carefree, but I'm too, like, high strung.
Yeah, me too. It takes me 4 hours to go to sleep at night.
Yeah, and he's like,
men are so lucky. I feel like that's my dad too.
They really are.
Yeah.
Jerks.
It's not fair. Before I move off of your Broadway debut and Hair, do you have a most memorable moment from being in the show?
God, there's so many. Honestly, I think forget about just Broadway. It was when I got the show itself, for the public, the Shakespeare in the Park. It was that defining moment. I was like, oh, this is a life-changing job. Like I knew that job, getting that job, put me in a place of then people being like, okay, we can hire her, you know? Because I think like the biggest problem, it's like you don't have any waitressing experience, and you're like, okay, but I can't get waitressing experience unless you give me this waitressing job, right? So it's like the same thing with Broadway. It's like, oh, we like you, but like you don't have any Broadway experience, so like we don't know how you are to work with, type of thing. So you just need that one person to be like, okay, we're going to take a chance on you, right? And then everybody else is like, oh, okay, great, then they took a chance, then we can, like, you know, she's, you know, it's okay, right? So I just knew that was finally somebody being like, okay, we're going to take a chance. And then everything else like fell into place, you know. Then it was like, then I was getting the auditions that I had always wanted to get, and I was getting in the rooms that I had always wanted to get into, because finally somebody had said yes, right? And it's so I just remember calling my parents and being like, I got this show, and I'm telling you, this is a career changer. And I was right, you know, because I knew. And then I didn't even know it was going to Broadway at that point. Like none of us did. But it was really very cool and special. And then it was really fun because while I was doing that show in the park, all the girls in my dressing room were going in for this new show, Rock of Ages. And I was like, I want to go in for that show. That sounds so cool, you know, like pop rock. I could totally sing that. And I remember like calling my agent so much and being like, I'd like to get in. And they were like, yeah. And I had a smaller agent at the time. They're like, yeah, we'll get you in. And like, finally, like 2 or 3 weeks later, I finally got an audition. Everything was cast besides one part.
It was meant to be.
Huh?
It was meant to be.
Meant to be. And so it was very exciting because then I booked that too. And then it was so fun to be able to like, all of a sudden I'm doing double duty and I'm performing Hair at night and I'm rehearsing this brand new show, Rock of Ages, during the day. And it was a very like New York fabulous, like working actress, you know, young in her 20s, like living her best life, like dreams come true, surreal summer. It was a very, 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 very cool summer for me.
And I like that you brought up how like you were working 2 jobs at once, basically, because I feel like a lot of people don't know that like while someone is in a show, they're also maybe workshopping another show.
Yeah, a lot of the times that's what's happening, and it's a lot and it's exhausting, but like so fun. I mean, it gets more exhausting the older you get. I've now done that later in my life, and it's like not like I'm 80 or anything, but like it's much easier when you're in your 20s, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even in your 20s though, it can be exhausting.
Absolutely. I was totally tired, but then you're just so young and hungry and so happy that you're like, I don't care, I can run on 2 hours of sleep, you know?
The adrenaline.
Yeah, totally.
And then you got cast as Elphaba in Wicked. So what was the casting process like for a role such as Elphaba?
I went in 4 times. And again, I was doing a show at Paper Mill Playhouse. I was doing Smokey Joe's at Paper Mill Playhouse. And that schedule is cool because you have 2 days off. You have Monday and Tuesday off. And then you have Wednesday night is your first show, like back. And then you have when do you have two shows on Thursday, and then you have 1 show Friday, and then 2 shows Saturday and 2 shows Sunday. So it's like a lot, but it's cool to have those like 2.5 days ish off, you know? So I had gone in, the first time I had gone in, I think it was on Tuesday, and I went in for Lisa, who is the associate director, and Craig, who was the casting director. And I went in for them, and everybody gets the Elphaba packet, and it's always for some reason at like 10 a.m. in the morning. You're always like belting Defying Gravity at like 10 a.m. at some ungodly hour that you're like, this is mean, you know? Every single audition I had, the 4 auditions were all at 10 in the morning. I was like, you guys suck. That's just mean. Anyway, so I went in on that Tuesday, and then then the next day on Wednesday, I went in and had another audition with Stephen Aremus, who is the vocal supervisor, music supervisor, and then again with Lisa, who's the assistant director, and the casting director. So then I had the 3 of them, and it was funny because you sing Defying Gravity from the like ba, 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 sa, you know, that part. That's where you start Defying Gravity, and then with Wizard and I, you start from Unlimited to the end. So you're not singing the whole songs, you're just singing like, you know, the big parts of it at it. Yeah. So I finished singing Wizard and I, and Stephen comes over and he's like, okay, great, so good. Okay. And then starts giving me notes, and I'm like feverishly writing down all the notes. Okay, yeah. You know, I'm like writing it all down. And by the time he finished, I swear to God, I had given more notes than I had actually sung. Like I was like, and he saw my face because I was like, oh God. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting this. And he was like, no, but you're doing really good. You're doing really good. And I was like, really? Because okay, sure. So then my next callback was on Friday. And I had to have that like early-ish in the morning because I think I had 2 shows. I don't remember. I just remember it was like really, really early. And I had like an hour work session with Lisa, the assistant director, associate director. And it was just like her going over, like, she was like, okay, you have to do this here. This is what this is. And just like coaching me on the material. And then my final callback was Monday at 10 a.m. after doing that 5-show weekend and getting home. I think I got home Sunday night at like, you get home from New Jersey and then get home like to your apartment at like 1 a.m. And then I had to get up at like 8 to warm up to get, you know, to go to your final callback. And like I'm fixing my bangs like they're mine. Nah.
Can you fix my hair? Hold on.
I fixed my real hair. And then there was 3 of us that auditioned, and I was the last of the 3. And it was for everyone, you know, it was for Joe Montello, who was the director, and Stephen Schwartz, who wrote the music, and David Stone, the producer, and then the same like Stephen Aremus. And it was like, you know, like there was like 15 people in the room. as there always is, you always walk in and you're like, oh God.
No pressure.
No pressure. And then you do the 3 songs, I'm Not That Girl, Defying Gravity, Wizard Night, and then the 2 scenes, the Cub scene with Fierro and the Fallen House scene with Glinda. And I got into the elevator, and the reader who was in my audition, she got into the elevator and she just looked over me. She was like, you did really good. And I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you so much. And I left and got on the subway and got off the train. And I literally, it was like 20 minutes, half hour tops. My phone started ringing and it was my agents. And I was like, no way, there's no way. And usually, just so you know, this always happens where like you have a really big audition and you're like waiting for your agents to call you and you never hear from your agents. And it just happens that your agents call you when you think they're calling to tell you that you got a job, and they're just like calling to be like, oh, you got another audition. And you're like, I never hear from you. And now I think you're calling to tell me I booked it and I didn't book it. Right. So I was like, there's no way. And I picked up the phone and my agent was like, hi, is this Elphaba? And I was like, what? And I was like, no. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. Very exciting. And then I couldn't get a hold of anyone. And it was very frustrating. My boyfriend at the time had gone surfing, called him, he didn't pick up. My mom, I called her, she didn't pick up, she was at work. My dad didn't pick up. My 2 best girlfriends didn't pick up. So I was left for like an hour to be like, there's like nobody around to celebrate. And then by the time they called me, it had been an hour and I had screamed around my house for an hour. And I was like, oh yeah, I booked Elphaba. Like, ugh. And then they were all screaming. And I was like, well, you know what? You should have been there for me like an hour ago when I was really going through it.
When you were celebrating.
Yeah, I was like, and then the exact same thing happened to me when I got Elphaba on Broadway. So I had gotten the tour first, and then at the towards the end of my tour, Joe and Steven, they all flew out to Florida where I was doing the tour and watched the show. It was like my audition for Broadway, and I found out the next day my agents called me. I was in Fort Lauderdale. I was on the beach. It was very fabulous, and I was so excited. They were like, "Who's the next Broadway Elphaba?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes!" And then again, called everybody and nobody picked up. And I was like, what the F?
Yeah. The lesson here is that your friends and family need to pick up the phone more.
Like, pay attention to me more.
Yes. Come on.
Come on. Very important.
It's ridiculous. And then I have Addison here to ask you a few questions that she once asked.
Hi. Do you like my wig?
I love it.
Thank you.
I had a wig last year for Halloween.
You did? What color was it?
It was purple.
Yes, that's what I need. I gotta get a purple one. Thank you. Now I know.
You should be a unicorn for Halloween with that wig.
I should be a unicorn. How would I get a unicorn?
Just get a headband.
Yeah.
A toilet paper tube, and then with the toilet paper tube, just glue it together and put it on the thing, and put it on the headband.
Done.
She's a genius.
I hope everybody heard that, because like that's a tip. Headband and the toilet paper, so cheap.
Tube.
What a genius. Addison's helping me with my costume.
Thank you, Addison.
You're welcome.
Unicorn, it's coming.
Yes.
Unicorns.
Give me your hard-hitting journalism. I'm ready.
Yeah, Addison has good questions.
The first one is, what's the most important quality a person who plays Elphaba and tours almost 8 times a week needs to have?
That's a really good question. You have to have confidence in yourself that you can do it 8 times a week and not get in your head and psychologically do psychological warfare on yourself. I definitely did that when I first took it over. I didn't believe enough in myself that I was capable of doing it. And as I got older, I finally, was able to believe in myself. And I think if you believe in yourself, you've been given the role for a reason, right? Every single woman that's playing this role got put through her steps. As I told, my story of the auditioning, they wouldn't have given you the role if you can't do it. So I think the thing that gets in all of our ways is the mental, it's a mental game, it's a really hard, really, really, really hard role. And it can make you crazy if you let it. So I think having that mental toughness is the best quality that you can have to play that role.
Yes, love it. Addison.
So far,
The next one is, what's been your favorite Wicked memory?
oh God,
The first time you
Addison.
saw Elphaba in a play.
Wait, what?
When was the first time you saw Elphaba in a play?
When I actually saw the originals when I first graduated from college, and it was still to this day one of the most magical theater experiences I've ever had. The second the orchestra started, I started to cry, and I'm not a big crier, although I am now in the pandemic. I seem to cry all the time. But before, pre-pandemic, I was not a big crier, and things never, like I like things, but nothing ever to the point. I've never been very fanatical about things. I'm very much like, oh, cool, it's here. Oh, it's not. Okay, great. Take it or leave it. But it just, this rush of emotion the second the orchestra started, I was like, I knew that we were experiencing something really special. And then the second Idina and Elphaba, came on, it was like, what, and singing those songs, like it was new for a woman to be belting, even like, it's like it took it to a whole new level. And you're like, that Wizard and I having an 11 o'clock number 5 minutes on to being on stage was like something crazily unheard of. And then she has like 8 more of those 11 o'clock numbers in that role. It just was like, and I knew that I wanted to play that role someday. And so then getting to be able to play it was like dreams come true. Think about how many thousands and thousands of young girls want to play that role. And are all worthy. There are so many people that are that talented. It really comes down to just like luck half the time, right? I mean, yes, you have to be super talented, but like, so to be able to do it and get my dream is just I'm very humbled and happy and honored that I got to play this iconic role. And then I get to meet so many people that I never would have ever met before. Right. And it's like, so it never stops like ceasing to amaze me.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful show. And Addison's last question is really good.
Okay.
If you could play any other character in Wicked, which one would you want to be?
It's a good question. Well, let me, like, if I'm honest, like, I would love to be one of those fierce dancer girls, because like when they're like kicking their faces, and I love the Ozda dancing. I just think it's some of the coolest choreography and dancing ever, and their costumes are amazing, and they're so sexy and slinky and amazing, and they do these cool lifts. I would love to be able to do that. I could never do that, but like in this fantasy world, I would be one of the fierce dancer girls that like is owning it.
Yes.
You guys thought I'd be like, Nessa or Glinda. No.
That's what I would want to be too, but I can't dance. So like,
neither, but this is our fantasy.
And I love the costumes, so that's why I want to like be in that scene, because like the costumes are amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I ordered, an outfit that looked like the costume for Lily's party last year.
Yes, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I felt like I was in the number, so it was my dream come true. And I think Addison might have one more question, but I'm not sure that she thought of.
Yes, you should definitely get a blue wig.
Okay.
It's more of a comment, but you should definitely get a blue wig.
Not a purple one, a blue one?
Well, you should get like all the colors.
I should, right? Aren't they great?
Rainbow. You should get a rainbow one.
I should. And then like, and I'll just pretend it's my real hair.
Yes.
Would you believe that this is my real hair?
I did for a second, but then you pointed out that it wasn't.
Oh my God, that makes me feel so good. So I did fool you even for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Love
I got my hair. I wish I could. I tried to dye it pink.
We're matching though. Like your headband and my hair, totally, they look exactly the same to me. We're twins.
Planned it.
We're twinning.
And didn't tell me to wear pink.
Sorry. Don't you know is today Wednesday? On Wednesdays we wear pink.
Oh.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Hello.
Missed the memo.
God. Don't you know your musical theater trivia?
Yeah.
I also love the movie Mean Girls, so it's like disappointed.
Come on, yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself. And then If Addison has more questions later on, I'll let her ask away.
Great.
But I'll get to some more questions that I have. Okay, so Wicked is a show that's been around since 2003. Why do you think it's done so well and is so special to people?
I think that they keep the show in really good running shape. They care very deeply about the show, and they still rehearse it like nobody's business. So I think that the running of the show is still impeccable. Like it's still like it just started. So I think that is one reason. And then the other reason, the show itself is amazing, and it speaks to everybody on a different level, but mostly for women. I mean, you have two women as the lead, which is very rare, if ever. And everybody in their life has felt like an outsider. There's not one person in the world that hasn't had a moment where they felt like they don't belong, or they don't know where they fit in, or, we all struggle with our own self-esteem and our confidence, and getting to see the underdog succeed is magical and makes us all feel good, because we have all been the underdog, so the celebration of the underdog is why I think that it is still to this day so prevalent, because those themes will never go away, sadly, if you're human.
Yeah, it stays relevant every year, and like if anything gets even more relevant.
Yeah. Give me fixing my wig.
Wait, hold.
Oh, I fix my wig. Okay, thank you. Like it's real.
I mean, it almost fooled Addison, so.
Thanks, Addison.
And then you were talking about singing Defying Gravity and Wizard and I at like 10 a.m. during auditions, and how hard it is to like sing those songs that early in the morning. But like in general, I feel like it's hard to sing those songs. So how do you have enough stamina and breath control to sing songs like that?
So it's just, like any kind of muscle. It's just about building up your muscle. So like, you get stronger. It's funny, like you get stronger as time goes on, right? So like in the beginning, it is like hard and it is arduous, and then you get it in your body and you build up your muscle, just like, going to the gym every day, and like your biceps just get stronger and stronger. Your voice gets stronger and stronger, and your body gets stronger, and you get used to the pressure that you're putting it under. And so, it's just about persevering through it, and then you get stronger. And knowing your limitations. That's the other thing. It's like knowing that like what I did the last time I did it on Broadway to the very first time I did it on Broadway were totally different, because I wasn't as strong as I was the second time. So like the first time I did it on Broadway, I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't do any workshops during the day. I couldn't go out and talk and like hang out and like drink, even have a glass of wine, with dinner, not like drink a lot, but, even have, because it would just swell my cords, and all I could handle was doing the show. And then as I got older, my body changed, and I grew and figured things out and was able to have more of a life. But you still just have to like listen to what your body is telling you. If your body's saying, hey, you need a break, take a break, right? So yeah.
I mean, yeah, you have to like know your limits and know yourself. And I mean, but like still, it amazes me that like you go on stage like 8 times, or you went on stage 8 times a week and sung all those songs like you did.
Thank you.
What was your favorite song to sing?
Everybody always asks me that, and it's always a really hard thing to say. And it truly does change. But if I were to say like, because sometimes I'm like obsessed with singing Wizard and I, sometimes I'm obsessed with singing I'm That Girl. No, sometimes you're obsessed with it, you're obsessed with For Good or whatever. But I say like overall, No Good Deed is my favorite thing to sing. But maybe it's just because I really can tap into anger.
Yes, love that. Yes, because Elphaba goes off in that scene.
I do love a good breakdown,
Love that. And then what's a fun fact about getting green that people wouldn't know necessarily?
That you get wet willies every day, sometimes twice a day. So, you literally have a cold, wet paintbrush in your ear because they have to get all the way in. So it's not like they're just like painting your ear. No, they go inside your ear. So every day you get a cold, wet paintbrush, wet willy of green paint shoved down your ear canal. So that's not very glamorous.
Love it.
That. Yeah.
Have you ever like been like, can I not keep the green on between shows? Like I know she gets it changes.
Yeah, so that's like everybody always says that. It's like, wouldn't it be great if you just stay green in between shows? And I'd be like, it would, but you can't because you are young in the first act and then you're older in the second act, and the whole makeup plot changes. Like the one of the things that is so hard about playing Elphaba is that you never get any time to yourself, and you never get, like, once you get into that building, you are sitting down in the chair and you're sitting there for the 30 to 40 minutes before you step foot on stage with somebody in your face painting you, somebody, you know, pin curling and putting your wig on, and then you go on and you don't stop for the whole act one. And then the second you get down from the levitator from doing Defying Gravity, you get to basically pee for 5 seconds, and then you sit right back down in that chair all during intermission, all during most of the beginning of the opening of Act 2. Good news and not good news. What's it called? Thank you. Having a brain fart. It's not my song, so I don't know. But like, and you sit back down and they repaint you, and they repaint your green, and they smoke out your cheeks, and they make your eyebrows thicker, and they smoke out your eye and give you a smoky eye. They contour everything. They give you a darker lip. So you don't have any time to yourself ever. It's never any downtime of just like getting to kiki with everybody and like have a, you know, like have a cookie and then like go back on stage. It's like, it's all business. And then the same thing, you finish the show, and while everybody gets to just like kind of like throw off their wig and like put on their clothes and go, it's like, and now you got to start the degreenifying. You know? Like, it's exhausting because it's like, it's very segregating being Elphaba. It's like really, really, really hard. And the fact that you don't get to spend a lot of time with the cast because you are by yourself all the time. And when you do spend time with the cast on stage, they hate you basically. So it can be really hard at first on the psyche of you as a human, you know? Yeah.
There's a lot of pointing at Elphaba during the show, and like
angry yelling, pointing. Everyone hates, you know, like she's misunderstood. People are not very nice. So when you think about that, it's like a lot to put an actor through, and the fact that like just a lot of pressure. And that's what I meant about having the mental toughness of being like, I can do this. I believe in myself, and like having enough strength to like push through and realize it's just a show. They don't really hate me, you know? Yeah.
How do you think you're like Elphaba, speaking of that, and how do you think you're different from Elphaba?
That's a good question. How do I think I'm like Elphaba? I think I'm like Elphaba where I wear my heart on my sleeve, and what you see is what you get with me, and I don't hold anything back. I just blurt anything out, just like Elphaba. Like once she goes on a tangent, like it's like that's it, you know, no holds, hold it back. And I'm very much like Elphaba with my love of animals. I love animals so much, as you know.
Same.
Sweet baby. I do think that I don't know if I'd be as tough as Elphaba is. Elphaba is a tough cookie. To make that decision of having all of your dreams could come true and shunning them to do what is right and like live by yourself and have people hunting you and being all by yourself, cold, and like, you know, the fight that she fights for what is right and what is true and what is good. I don't think many people have that kind of strength. I'd like to think I do, but like when push comes to shove, I don't know. Would I be tempted if somebody was like, you could be the biggest movie star in the entire world if you just ignore the fact that like over there something maybe a little bad is happening, you know? It's like, you want to say that, you'd be like, yeah, no, forget it. I don't want to be the richest, most wonderful movie star in the entire world.
But like
it's like, I would like to say yes, and I think that I would, but I don't know unless I was put in that position.
Yeah. Makes sense. And then I've asked you this question before, but if you could dream cast people opposite you for the Wicked movie, what would it be?
Well, already I'm dreaming because I'm in the Wicked movie. Okay.
we're just gonna go along with the fact that you're gonna be in it. So like,
great. So I'm Elphaba in the Wicked movie. So like
assume-
my biggest dream has come true. Okay, great. Who do I want to be like a movie star?
like anyone.
I mean, like I love all of the people I've done the show with, so I couldn't pick one of them because like I would want all of them. So I would have to like pick movie stars that I think would be funny to do it along with, because I can't choose between Kara and Amanda and Chandra and Ali. Like they're all like brilliant. Like, you know, like I'd be lucky to have any of them. So let's see. Who would be a funny Glinda?
We would rewrite the movie and have 3 Glendas.
Or I could do that. I think it'd be funny. I think Anna Kendrick would be really funny as Glinda. I know people think of her as Elphaba, but I think she'd be a really funny Glinda.
Be a sass.
Yeah, I think she'd be like funny and quirky and sassy, and I think she has a beautiful voice. I don't know. Who would I want to be my Fiero? Well, he's not really age appropriate, but neither am I. So like I would want Chris Evans to be my Fiero because he's my #1 all day, every day. And he actually saw me in Wicked the first time I did it, and I didn't get to meet him, and I was very upset about it. So
I'd be pissed.
like, had we had met, we would have fallen in love, and like, you know, then obviously, you know, it would be a different thing. But he missed out. So Chris, call me.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Hello.
Right now.
Yeah.
And then moving off of Wicked, you were also you were also standby for Idina on Broadway, and then you went on to be the lead on the tour. What was first of all, what was the first time you went on for Idina like?
Well, the first time I went on mid-show. And I had never had a rehearsal. So it was pretty scary because I had never, you know, put on the costumes or done any of the quick changes or heard the orchestra live, you know, like I'd only heard it over the speaker in my dressing room with Idina singing. So like I had never heard the orchestrations without somebody singing them. Never been in the lights and like on the turntable and acted with the actors, you know, other actors. So it was very overwhelming, and I found out 5 minutes before I was going on, and so I didn't really have time to prepare and like get ready. So that was pretty scary, and I was really, really afraid that everyone was gonna like boo me off the stage. I definitely had made it up in my head that people were gonna viscerally hate me. So I was very scared to go on, and it was actually really lovely that like act 2 starts with this song called Walking by a Wedding, and they were like, they made this, you know, announcement. They're like, you know, ladies and gentlemen, for the remainder of the performance, the role of Elizabeth will be played by Jackie Burns. And I thought it was gonna be like, bah! You know what I mean? And like freaking out. And I was like, just like preparing myself. I was like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you're just gonna, and everybody was like, ah! And like, and I was like, and I walked out on stage and people were still clapping. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because I was so scared. I was already so scared because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I hope I remember my lines. I've never rehearsed this. Normally you have a put in before you go on, but we were still in previews. So nobody in the world thought that Idina would be going out. She just got so sick that she couldn't, you know, vocally finish. And then I ended up going on for the rest of the week. So it was great. Then I had my put in front of thousands of people.
Great, but if anyone could have done that, I mean,
thank you. It was a lot. I definitely, you know, it was me getting through it. It was not the most nuanced performance I've ever given. It definitely got better, but I definitely, you know, I didn't stop the show and ruin it. So that's good.
And I'm sure that I know actually, because I know Broadway fans are like this. I know that like people would probably come to see you specifically the day you were on because they knew you were on later on.
Totally. It was really lovely. Yes, it was. I actually, all my worst fears of like getting booed and like people hating me were all made. It just goes to show you what you make up in your head is so much worse than the reality, and usually not even close to what the truth is. Like why, I don't know why we as humans do that to ourselves, why we make something, we just like assume that like, oh no, they hate me or this person, like, you know, and it's like, it's not real. It's like we make this and we put ourselves through such craziness for no reason. And then it ended up being wonderful. And I had the best time. And I mean, I'm not going to say that there weren't some people that got annoyed to see me, but then by the time they watched the show after, they're like, oh, you were really good. Like, oops, we didn't know. And I was like, thank you so much. Yeah.
It's the best. It's like when someone leaves not expecting to see someone on, but then leave like a fan of that person.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens so much in theater, which is why theater is such a beautiful thing. I feel like. And then for most of it, if then you're switching between two different characters, what's it like? How do you distinguish? How did you make character choices that help the audience know, like, besides the glasses changing, whether you were Liz or Beth?
So it's a good question. You are the same human. And so what I thought about is how the different circumstances that I was living in changed me as a human. So like if me, Jackie Burns, was all of a sudden, moved to Hawaii and no longer was an actor and was like madly in love and like had two kids, I physically would feel differently. My life would be at a different rhythm. You know what I mean? Like Hawaii, I'd probably be a lot more like chill and like everything would be kind of like slowed down and like I'd be drunk on love and happy. And where if I just was still in New York and like grinding it out to be an actress, like what would my tempo, my cadence be? How would I speak differently? Would I speak faster? Would I be like on the go? You know what I mean? Rather than in Hawaii where it's like, everything kind of just happens or whatever. So I explored that with Liz and Beth is that, their two lives. It's like one is career driven, one is love driven, and where, how that affects you, like in one world, you're going to be wearing, like business attire and, it's going to be meeting after meeting and the pressure and like, does that pressure change your body? And so those are the things that I tried to bring in to differentiate these two characters that were the same woman, but just in different circumstances.
How long did it take most audience members to like come up like and be like, I got it, like the plot of the show?
I have no idea. I definitely know that like my parents, who ended up loving the show more than anything I've ever done, that's their favorite thing I've ever done. They were like, it was like this third time that they were like, oh my God, this show is brilliant. I finally get everything. And it's, oh my God, like they liked it the first two times, but they were still like, oh wait, what? I missed this. I got this, and that's what I thought was so genius about it is that you could watch the show over and over again and get something different every single time. It's like, oh wait, what? You have so many aha moments.
Yes. That's why I love live theater because again, like like you realize different things every time.
Yeah. Totally.
Depending on like your mood, anything.
Yeah.
Or like how an actor says something.
Yeah.
And then speaking of like how an actor goes about playing a role, how do you make a characters your own?
How do you make a character your own? Well, I mean, like you are who you are, right? So like your personality is and your being or you're gonna bring that to whatever character that you're doing, right? So like it's going to be you because only you are you. So you're gonna it's innately going to be your own because it's on you. Right. And I think the biggest thing is just being true to like you and rather than trying to emulate somebody else's thing because that's already been done. So it's not going to be interesting to see somebody else's performance on you because then it's just seeing a cheap version of somebody else through you, right? So I think it's really important, like when I was standing by and If Then, as an example, like I tried to stay very true to Idina's Elizabeth because that's, I think, the fairest to the other actors. I don't think it's fair for me to go on stage and all of a sudden have this crazy different performance and then leave these actors that are used to something have to be like, now adjust to me. Yeah. Because that's not fair. And that's not my job. My job is to like plug in when need be for another human. But then when it was my role, then it was my chance to find what I wanted to bring to the role, find my moments, find how, if they were different or not. And And I think crafting that is like going through and doing your homework and being a good actor, of like figuring out like, what are the circumstances? How do I feel about the people I'm on stage with? How do they make me feel? How do I feel about them? And where have I been in my life? And it's crafting those moments and getting really specific about everything that you feel and you're in the world around you.
And it's got to be so rewarding when people are like, you're my favorite in this role or something.
It totally is. But then you have to remember that to everyone's favorite, you're someone's least favorite. So like, you can't ever get too excited.
I mean, well, if you're anyone's least favorite, they need to get their ears checked.
I mean, no, thank you.
I'm just saying. Of course. And then, I mean, you were set to do a show in spring. Are you allowed to say anything about?
Yeah. So there is a show called Walk on the Moon that was a movie, and that they turned into a musical, and they've been working on it for a while now. I think like a good 10 years they've been working on it, and it's such a good script, and the music is so good, and the people attached are amazing. The director is amazing. The producers are the coolest. And I'm really excited to get to do it whenever we get to do it. Now it's been postponed to November. It was March, and now it's November. I definitely think that it will get a life. And they have the highest aspirations for it to like go to Broadway, and I hope that it does. And I think that it's a beautiful piece of theater that needs to be done. And I'm very excited to go on that journey whenever the pandemic lets us.
Pandemic. Speaking of when the pandemic lets us, how do you think live theater will be different when it's able to come back?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I know things are going to be different because they have to be different, and we have to wrap our heads around the fact that it's not going to be the same, and that's going to be jarring in itself. I don't know, a lot of shows have to run at capacity to stay open, and I don't know if there'll be as many options for shows. I don't think that our economy will be able to support a lot of shows with there not being the tourism that there normally is. I think it's going to take a while for Broadway to get back to its heyday. And I think that is really stressful and sad and nerve-wracking, but I know it will be back. And I just think that we need to get ready that it's going to be a slow and steady progression to back to where as strong as it was and thriving as it was. But that's the only thing I really think. And I think that there will be a lot of theater now regionally, because, we can do it outside. And I think touring and regional theater is going to be a big booming way for live theater to come back, which is also super exciting.
This is all making me sad for like the people who are just graduating with like degrees. And
yes, it's really, really sad. Really sad.
And then you've been, I want you to be able to promote your lessons that you're doing with people, because you're teaching right now.
I am teaching right now, and it's honestly the thing that gets me through this pandemic. I'm having the best time. I have the most amazing students. Their talent is crazy, and then they're also the most amazing humans. So it's been super rewarding to get to experience students in a way that I normally wouldn't be able to. Like, I have some students in Puerto Rico and Hawaii and Washington, and it's just like Seattle, and it's like, oh my God, or Chicago, where I never would have been able to meet these people, or Florida. I mean, just like when I think about all the different places that I get to meet humans is very, very cool. So I am loving teaching, and the talent is out of this world, and getting to just be creative and have that creative connection has been life-saving in this pandemic for me.
And I'm sure they tell you when they get roles and stuff, and so
they're all like slated to be the next star. So I'm just excited to ride along and watch.
If people want to sign up for lessons, are you taking new people now? Or?
Actually, I do. I have a few spaces, and you could just DM me on Instagram, or it's actually in my link in my bio. You can just link in on it and put your information, and it's super easy. And I lowered all of my prices because of the pandemic, because we're all struggling, and I really want to do it more, not as much for the money as I just love doing it. So, yeah, so I like literally cut everything in half, and it's been so fun. It's been so fun.
I'll put the link to
Oh, thank you.
the email address in the description of this.
And if you're lucky, maybe I'll wear a wig for your lesson. Like, you don't know. Surprise.
Maybe you'll have like 10 wigs by then.
Fingers crossed.
And then what's your social media so people can follow you on social media? And I think Addison wants to say one thing shortly.
Do you know my social media?
I do know your social media.
Great. Can you tell me?
Jackie Burns NYC.
Thank you. I never remember. So like, thanks, Becca.
On Twitter and Instagram.
Right. Exactly.
You're like, what is my social media?
I don't know.
Do you never log out?
No. I don't know. I have no idea. We met? I have no idea.
Oh no. And then I think Addison thought of one thing that she wants to say.
Great.
Real quick.
My last question is there a favorite cast member of yours that you would want to work with again?
All of them.
What if you had to choose one?
I wouldn't. That's mean. That's a mean thing to say, because then if I pick one, then everybody else feels bad.
True.
And you don't want to make people feel bad, right?
That's true.
I wouldn't want that. What if somebody I worked with, they asked that question and they didn't pick me? I'd be like crying in the corner. I'd be like, why did they pick me? I thought we loved each other. They'd be like, we do. And I'm like, no, but clearly not enough.
Yeah, like you didn't pick me.
Yeah. I literally love, there's not a single, I'm trying to think. I'm like, give you some juicy gossip? Is there somebody that I'm like, nah, I don't need to work with you again? No, honestly, I have lucked out on the Glinda's, Wizards, Nessa's, Box. I mean, like Madame Morables. Like, I actually am friends with everybody that I have done the show with. Like in LA, my Bach Jai is housing my car for me because he's like the sweetest human ever. And Chandra and I still go on hikes in LA. Kara and I chat all the time. Amanda Jane and I chat all the time. Allie and I do concerts. I mean, like, I'm very, 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 very lucky that I really work with really great humans.
Then how about, do you have a favorite memory from Wicked?
That's a good question. Do I have a favorite memory? There's so many. God, there are so many. I do think that, it's something that was really cool was getting to shoot the commercial and like when they like transformed the whole theater and like had to bring in all these huge cranes and like it was so glamorous and cool, and like knowing that it was going to be me, that I was going to be the face of like Wicked for the next 10 years and like shooting this awesome commercial and new B-roll for the first time in like 10 years. That was pretty special. It felt very, very magical.
I wonder if your parents brag every time you're on like a billboard in Times Square.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like when I'm walking in Times Square and seeing that my face in Times Square, like on loop, like the video, like this massive Jumbotron. And I'm like, that's me. And the other day I was in New York this weekend for something, and I came out of the 50th Street subway, and I haven't been there in a while. And there's me and Amanda Jane, with our Pride thing on what are those things called? Where like, oh God, the newsstand.
Okay. I
was like, oh my God, like just like casually walking up, and there I am. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's really cool.
Like,
yeah, like nobody knows who I am and nobody would know that that's me, but it's just still cool. Like, I'm like, that's neat.
Well, thank you for joining me for this interview. I appreciate it so much.
So fun and such good questions, y'all.
Thank you. I'm so impressed with Addison's journalism. She has a career in this.
Yes.
I want to be an author.
Oh, all right. Well, you have to sign up your first one and send it to us.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Deal.
And then we can like have a famous author signature.
Yes.
Deal.
Yes, I would love that. Hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BeccaBTalksTV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!